Okay, thank you so much for waiting. We made it to yet another Friday or Wednesday. Not sure what day it is. So glad everyone is here. So this is the final part of Frida Kahlo. She has been an amazing subject. I have to say, she's just incredible. Every time I paint her, it is always a wonderful experience. And I have to say that with all honesty. Every time I paint her, it's just like a great, excellent experience, and I just can't put into words how amazing. Look at that. I'm gonna put myself over here a little smaller. There we go. And all right, so let's see who we have today. So today we have Mr. Steve. How you doing, Mr. Steve Lang, all the way from the UK? Great to see you. Mike DeLoach from Georgia. Patty from Illinois. We have Total Pain from upstate New York. We also have, let's see who else we have here. Nameless from California. Great to see you. So glad. Tim O'Clock. I love it. I love it. So glad you're here, Nameless. And let's see, anyone else? Mr. Brad Mummery, how you doing from Manitoba, Canada? So we have Canada in the house. So right now we have 3 countries. It's an international live stream. We have Blue. How are you, Blue? All the way from Long Island, New York. So great group. And oh, Paul. We have Paul T all the way from Indiana. So that is amazing. I have Paul T. I have some tea on the horizon. I have the kettle going, so you might hear that in a few minutes. And so I hope everyone is having a good week with lots of inspiration. I hope your paintings are going really well. That's my hope for you all. And so I'm so glad you're here, Patty, as always, from Illinois. You are great. It's always so encouraging. Thank you. I'm going to take a swig of water. Okay, so now let me go ahead and pull up. Oh, Paul, what are you doing in Kansas? Are you seeing family? Now, I know about Manhattan, Kansas, because that is where Kansas Jayhawks, isn't that where the Kansas University is, the University of Kansas? So that is so cool. So that is neat. So we got Kansas in the house tonight. We don't have that too often. So that is great. Colette, how you doing? So good to see you all the way from Wisconsin. Born and raised out of Chicago. So that is great. Right across the street. Boy, I know my Midwest. Not really, but I know some parts of the Midwest, which is great. So glad you're here, Colette. So let me go and pull up my Pure Ref. And I'm looking for Frida. There she is. I'm going to miss this painting. She is just, I can't tell you how amazing it is to paint this beautiful lady. Okay, there we are. Look at me, all little. And so let me make me even littler. There you go. All right, so now I have my detail mixture in my airbrush, ready to go. I already painted 2 hours today. And let's see, I wish I could paint 10 hours a day, but being a full-time artist, a lot of times you have to do stuff that really does not have to do with painting, and I find that interesting. And okay, so where do we start? So when I start, I always want to have my detail mixture in the airbrush. You never want to start with anything darker because you're just getting reacclimated with the subject. But what I want to do is I want to concentrate on the corner of her mouth. Look at that beautiful smile. And so I want to go ahead and look at this anatomical landmark right over here. So I'm going to zoom in. This is definitely glasses territory, that's for sure. Yes, how's your hip, Mr. Brad? That is so cool. You doing really well? Rick, how you doing all the way from Montreal? So great to see you. So right now I'm going to be about 3 inches away. I just want to indicate the corner of her mouth. Very important as far as, you know, the character of the pose and her smile. And there's an anatomical form right over here. Those are my students out there. You know exactly what I'm talking about over here. This anatomical form that comes out right here. And if you know it's there, you're going to look for it. And if you look for it, you're going to see it. So those in the know how important anatomy is if you're going to be a portrait painter. There's no way out of it. If there was, don't you think I would have found it? There's no way out of knowing anatomy. You should be able to have a conversation with a pre-med student. So let's see, any questions? Very cool. Yes, happy Wednesday, sir. Thanks, Rick, I appreciate it. Mr. John Diekman, all the way from Wisconsin. How are you, sir? Right now, what I'm doing since the beginning of the painting session is that I am actually just cleaning up things, looking from some of the shapes from last week. And with this live stream, I didn't do any work outside of what you've seen in the live stream. So this painting was born and raised right out of the live stream. You know what that means, right? And so glad you're doing well, John. That is great. John Deepin in the house. Really happy. And let me go ahead and make my tea. See, I have my cup. And merry and bright Christmas cup. Christmas in August. Be right back. Okay, so my tea is ready. I made tea with milk with Irish breakfast tea, which is really quite good. So let's see if I lost everybody. Usually when I'm not on the screen, I actually get more people watching. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's see. Mike says, anatomy question. What is the function of the gluteus maximus? Answer to turn heads. Yeah, depending on the gluteus maximus, I do concur. That's for sure. And right here. So there are some parts in the lips where it's a little darker, meaning has to do with, you know, how the two lips are kind of interacting with each other. The upper and lower lip, that is. And now that this is coming down here, I definitely can take my eraser and kind of cool that out a little bit. Now you can use an aggressive eraser as long as you're gentle with it. It's just fine. I want to get rid of this pencil line. Pencil line no longer is applicable. You see how really subtle this is. And to have a line there does not do Frida justice. So we got to get rid of that. I don't think she'd be too happy making her look older than she is in this picture. I don't think she would be too happy. Okay, now comes the pastel. So we'll be using a lot of pastel and airbrush today, which is going to be really a lot of fun. So right here, this part is actually bunching up. And if something's bunching up, it's going to get more light. And we're just going to indicate this just a little bit right here. But we did get rid of that line, which was quite annoying. And the great thing with the pastel, we can actually even go over the line if we so choose. Raul, how's it going, my friend, all the way from Jersey? So glad you're here. So that is great. Paul says, hotel Wi-Fi locked up, Kansas State Wildcats. Oh, wow, that's true. So it kind of roughs up your internet, especially if they're having a game. I know they love their Jayhawks and Wildcats, that's for sure, in Kansas. And let's see if we could start to pull out some of these beautiful highlights in her lower lip here. So this calls for more pastel. So I'm looking for a white pastel pencil. My kingdom for white pastel pencil. You know, I bet it's behind me. Yes. So I'll be right back. And if I was a white pastel pencil, where would I be? Well, all else fails, you could always use a white charcoal pencil. That also works. But for some reason, I'm unable to locate my white pastel pencil, which is not surprising because every week I fail to locate something. But let's see if it's in here. There it is. Okay, we found it. Way to go, guys. Way to go, Tim. So as you can see, I just bring this over and I just deposit my pastel here. And then I take my pencil, my stump, and now I just apply that like so. And there'll be varying degrees of pressure depending on how light the highlight is. There we go. And Todd, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Yes, I love pastel too, Colette. Thanks. Right? It's pastel grows on you. It really does. And when you couple that with airbrush, it is just out of this world. Let's zoom out a bit so we can see the contacts in which we are working. We'll bring this over. There we go. And love the way that little bit of highlight just brings life to that really cute smile she has. Not sure Diego would like me to be flirting with Frida as I am right now, so maybe I should chill out. Now Diego was Frida Kahlo's husband. I think they got a divorce and then they came back together at the end of Frida's life. And they were both artists. So good to see you, Todd. How's life in San Diego? Now, once you realize what's happening and why these shapes are there, then you can actually go ahead and properly make them round. But until you really understand the shape, you're just eyeballing it, and eyeballing it is just not as profound an experience as if you really understand what it is that we're portraying. See, time for a sip of tea. Let's see, Irish breakfast tea. Not bad, not bad. I rushed it a little bit, so it's not as good as it could have been. But it is good. This part is actually going to get a little bit more light, just right here. She sure looks great, Tim. You've really outdone yourself. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you. Now, Frida is, this painting is for sale if someone is interested. If not, I'll be putting her up on eBay for a lot more than I would sell her here at the end of the night. Okay, if you ever get overzealous and I get overzealous with the white, tap, 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 and you just calm that right down, which is great. The more our knowledge is of our subject, not only knowing the model, but also the more knowledge that you have of the human form, the more powerful your commentary is going to be. So, since we're here, I want to go ahead and I want to thank my Patreon members right now. And I'm just going to, as I am doing that, I'm going to go to my Patreon account. And Patreon is great. It's a way to go ahead and monthly support the channel and support me and all of that. And it really is a lifesaver. You know, I mean, I can't say enough. I want to thank Philip Lunt from the UK. I want to thank Christian Kabasa from New Jersey. Dr. Steve, everyone knows Dr. Steve, thank you so much. I want to thank Todd Bemis. Todd, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. And Gloria Kabasa. Now, if anyone wants to be, you can be a Patreon member for as little as $4.95 a month, and it really helps out the channel. So that's just, I just wanted to thank everybody who has done that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't thank you every week, but I should. But I really appreciate that. And we're just going to continue making her chin area totally three-dimensional. Now I can take my eraser and I can pull out the underpainting just like so, really. And you know, if I see things like right here, it's a little, the contrast a little high, I can just take my pastel, and if I just lightly go over it, I could lighten that value until it falls right into where I want it to be. See, right here is just too strong, and I'm just going to let it kind of calm down and fall right to where it should be, you know? And, oh, Blue says there is an artist on YouTube who paints and drinks tea every time you hear a gong. Remember me of that, reminded you of that just now. That's funny. So where did the gongs come from? Does he have a gong, or does he live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of gongs? That's pretty cool. And okay, so see, I'm staying here in the chin because it's a very important area as far as getting the character of Frida. Okay, now coming to her jawline, we see we have a little more of definition, but we still, believe it or not, have some pencil lines from the original line drawing. So we're just going to kind of plow the field here. And I have my detail mixture, which is 4 drops of detail and 6 drops of water. It's really nice and thin. There we go. So if you ever want to work on an airbrush like mine, I do sell them, of course. And that's on the website you see in the lower left-hand corner, inkflingers.com. Right over here, inkflingers.com. And there you can get my inks, and you could get the airbrush. That just is like, to me, if I honestly feel that my airbrush, to me, is like a game changer for the price and how much it costs for the parts and everything. It really has changed my career. And those of you who do have the Extreme Patriot Arrow, thank you so much for trying it out and trusting me. That means a lot. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. See, when you have a high-key photo like this, a lot of the details are super, super subtle, right? So you have to make sure that you're aware of the anatomical landmarks to look for them, because in subtle high-key photos like this, you could miss it. Strong but hot. Okay. So those who have lived in the New York metropolitan area this summer, I have 2 words, hot and sticky. That's been our summer. Have you found the same, Raoul? Hot and sticky this summer? Raoul's a fellow Jersey guy. I believe he's in Central Jersey. I'm in northeast Germany. Northeastern New Jersey, 5 miles from New York City. Oh, so someone's drinking alcohol and painting, huh? Nameless? Oh, wow. So cool. And now I'm going to pretty soon come in with the white pastel for the ear, because we have some definition we could work on. So you see, I'm just going to put some definition in her ear. How else will we hear her, or she hear us, if we don't have her ear painted? Wow, you've been out of the house twice this summer. Oh man. So you've been basically just in the studio, huh, sir? Yeah, every day is a gift, definitely. I agree there, Mr. John Payne. More white pastel. And let's start working on her beautiful ear. Okay. Gotta make that ear come to life. Little round. There's really no brain of the skin in the ear. So a little round, kind of textureless. It's kind of a smooth cartilage. And then we have this lighter color coming down. Now I might have went a little overboard. I can always tap that light out. But there is a nice light in between the two helixes, the outer helix and the inner helix of the ear. We all have them. Life like art is what you make it, John says. Some pieces fly together, some need patience and encouragement. Oh, Raul can't wait to get back to the gym. You and me both. I don't feel good unless I'm like pumping iron and, improving my body every day. I'm not happy unless I'm improving everything every day. That's just my weird personality. I just can't stand still as far as any element of me. I was telling someone today that I feel like Cary Grant inside Buddy Hackett's body. The outside doesn't always reflect the inside. Hey Brad, thank you so much for the super chat sticker. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. That means a lot to me. And just amazing. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, sir. I really, really, really appreciate that. That helps out the channel. The same as the Patreon members. Those who give the super chats really is like bar none for helping this channel to continue bringing you new paintings and new technologies and everything. So thank you, sir, for that. Really, really thank you. Raul said you torn your quad tendon and had surgery, so you're recovering from surgery. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. And how'd you do that? That's a big muscle in your leg. Are you an athlete, sir? That's like a football injury or something like that. Oh, Patty, thank you so much for hanging out. You're the best. I hope you have a great rest of the evening and don't work too hard tomorrow, okay? I also heard you won a painting Monday on Steve Leahy's live stream. Isn't that fantastic? So congratulations there. So you see her ear is not just an ear, but there's a lot of lights and darks happening there. And so if we zoom in on her ear, we'll see that it's a lot more complex. Hey there, Mr. Patrick! Clutch Pyro, how are you today, sir? Great to see you. Today is the final installment of the beautiful and talented Frida Kahlo. And I'm flirting with Frida, I don't care. Diego will be upset, but what are you going to do? So cool you're here, Mr. Patrick. So here it's a little dark, so I'm just gonna come in and do a round circular motion with the white pastel, and notice how it kind of neutralizes that dark, gives it transparency in that shadow. Same thing here, there's more of a transparency. So I'll just go very lightly in a circular motion to transparent out that. I'm going to put my fan on high because my air conditioner is doing nada. Be right back. Mainly because it's not pointed at me, that could have been something. Now I got it at high. So it might sound like we're at an airport. Let's see. Oof. Okay. Feels a little better, feels a little worse. Because wind is weird. Okay, so let's come over here and bring this over. Oh, a gym rat. That's somebody who hangs out at the gym all the time. I was a gym rat. I was there 4 days a week, every week. I used to go swimming 3 days a week, and then during that, including the 4 days, I would actually lift weights. It was amazing. I mean, the shape I was in was really, really something. Over. So you think like the ear is not a big thing, but it's a supporting actor, you know? So you want your supporting actor to be good. I'm just going to add some pressure in there. Here. Ooh, maybe Mr. Fonz and Porter can make an appearance. Let's see. Make my ear bigger here. See, this is too linear over here. So I'm just going to calm this down. Way too linear. So you see, I'm just going to rub over the white pastel there to get rid of some of those linear qualities. And we'll bring in the Fonz and Porter for these tight, real detail areas right here. And you see, it doesn't always connect. This down here kind of merges, at least in the image. Whether in real life, that's not to be seen. See how too powerful that is? So I'm just going to take this and just kind of calm it down. And then I can take my eraser in total control of your materials. I can pull out exactly what I want to pull out. And right here is a kind of a really strong light there. And right here. See how her ear starts to take shape? We just have to stick with it and be patient, that's all. And she'll come together. No cut corners, no corner cutting, I should say. Just put some life in the shadows here. And then this kind of softens over here, right over here. So, you know, doing the 1 second rule and really paying attention to what you're seeing is going to go very far in representing whatever it is you're painting, whether it is an ear, a nose, an eye, or the whole of the whole portrait, for that matter. Right over here, this is way overzealous as far as the value. So this lightens up right over here. And then we can come back in with our white pastel and we can calm it down. But the one thing you'll notice is that the ear starts to become much more realistic as we go. And then of course we have some darks right on the edge of her ear. We'll make sure we put that there. It's much darker next to her ear, and then it gets lighter as that cast shadow moves further and further away from the object, casting a shadow. Let's see if I can show you. So right here, we have this cast shadow, and it gets much lighter the further we get from the object that's casting the shadow. See that? And that's going to create a little more realism, because you're knowing the nature of the shadows. You're not just looky-looey, right? You're looking, but you're expecting. You're anticipating from your knowledge of your subject. Now let's see if I missed anything. Clutch says, Tim, haven't forgotten about getting that lamb recipe. Just haven't had a chance. Oh man, I can't wait for that. That would be great. Hey Zavi, how you doing? Great to see you. So what eraser? So this is you can't really buy them anymore. You might be able to find them on eBay or something like that. These are the old-fashioned typewriter erasers. They're really great. I think this is called the Signature Series. And it really is fantastic, Zavi, because you can really get in there, and you know, with this technique you can really pull out some really beautiful lights. And let's see. Fonz and Porter again. Bring this down. Now jewelry is great because it's so specular, the highlights and everything, and it really is beautiful. So I'm going to get a softer pastel. And softer usually means, right now, maybe a Rembrandt or a Winsor & Newton, something to that effect. And I'm going to apply this to my sandpaper. And of course, it's going to be a lot more powerful. But this is an off-white, so glad I caught that. You need a stark white. White. Here we go. This is not an off-white. And watch what happens when I put this as my specular highlight. It's just nice and powerful. See that? A little more power when you use different pastel brands. So let's move down her necklace here, or earring I should say. You can see we can really make these highlights super powerful. Why not, right? Plus I can be slightly more daring. And this is going to be hard to find out. But now I could really just attack this like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's just specular highlights. Look at that. That is really powerful. Ah, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that. Patrick says the earring looks like you can blow it and move. That's fantastic. And Zombie says, how do you keep from the painting damaging the? How do I keep from damaging the paper? It really is just being super gentle and not pushing it, you know. And that's what I do, Zombie. Is I don't push it, and I make sure that I respect the paper. I don't erase anything if it's wet, right? And that's something that I'm really super careful about. paper when it's wet, it becomes real delicate and malleable. And so let's see how that looks. Let's give it one more powerful shot. Bam. So you don't have to be so precious when it comes to things like the earring. You could be very painterly in that. See how painterly that is? Let's go down to her necklace. That will be fun when it comes to that. Raoul says his goal is to keep the airbrush and ink technique on his next projects to help him gain better airbrush control. Yes, well, you'll find, Raoul, that My India inks, especially a detail mixture, is going to raise your control level by at least 50% from using other brands of anything, because it is geared to give you more control. And so now here we go, dun dun dun. We're going to come in with this super, look at that. Oh man, that reminds me of Vermeer. That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So beautiful. Now, this, these jewelry on her is not going to ever be more beautiful than the subject, Frida Kahlo. But it's nice to have such a really nice supporting cast. You can see how things just really come together. You don't have to be super careful either. And watch how these how they sort of pop. Look how that necklace pops by doing this. Oh, great! How does the T-shirt look? And thank you so much for ordering that, Zavi. Oh yes, very true. Lighter is always better, Patrick. Good advice. Thanks, Avi, for purchasing it. That was one of my favorite paintings I did of a really good friend of mine. That's actually an airbrush, a color airbrush painting. And I was using golden acrylics back then. Okay, let's move down. And let's see. Bring this over. Thank you so much, Raoul. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much for that glowing testimony, Mr. Patrick. I really appreciate that. Oh, a single session package. That's something very interesting. I am coming out with something in the near future that is going to be great. It is going to be, a video course from beginning to end, which I think will be great for a lot of people. And so that's something. Oh, Clutch will buy too. That's great. Thank you, Blue. Blue says the detail I show on this is amazing. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm just going to pull out some of these highlights here. Just to make things a little more interesting. And as you can see, that necklace, if I just come down a little bit, let's see if I can. There we go. So you can see how her necklace is really coming together. And now I have this like white pastel. Now I'm getting white pastel happy, right? So let's do that really beautiful sparkle in her eye. And I really want to get that. I've been wanting to do that since I first seen this photo. Here we go. So now what I can do is I can shape that a little bit if I need to. Let's take a look. See, it's a little overzealous, but nothing we can't fix. Pastel is the most malleable of all of the mediums. Beautiful. I just love that photograph and the way that it really accentuated that with her. Oh, thank you, Zavi. Thank you so much. Zavi says my live streams are the best. I really appreciate that. And thank you. The live sessions. Oh, I appreciate it. The one-on-one, yes, I try to really, you know, work with the student and try and pull out, you know, stuff out of the student that I know they can do that even they don't realize they can do. Oh, this is so fun here. So let's say I come in here and I'm like, okay, I went a little crazy with that. No problem. Tap, tap, tap. I can just shape it to exactly what I want. And Frida is looking like Frida, and that's amazing. So now over here we have to make these shadows look transparent. So that's actually tricky. Making the shadows look transparent is a little advanced, but I think it's worth going over today. So we're going to use our pastel pencil, not the really thick, soft pastels that we were using before. And our job is to, right now, try and get a transparency within the shadows. And that's sort of infusing some light in the shadows. And that will go a long way in really showing those areas that are very tight-skinned and they have a lot more life in them than just, you know, a shadow. There's more going on. And remember, you see this nostril here, the wing of the nostril? A lot of that is described by the adjacent shape more so than the shape itself. And now we're going to work on the adjacent shape of the side of her nose. And you see how that brings out the shadow. So think about it. It's the shadow of the, it's the side of her nose that is going to bring out the wing of the nostril shape. And oh, he thinks the earrings more than the voodoo. Oh, you like the earrings better than the necklace. That's cool. And oh, Steve Leahy is amazing. He's great to watch, definitely. Steve says he's going to get off early. He's falling asleep. It's nearly 3:30. Thank you, Mr. Steve Lang. Always a pleasure, my friend. You're a great guy and friend, and thank you so much for hanging out, my good mate. So have a great night, sir. Say hi to Tilly for me. And Zavi says he wants to take more lessons from Mr. Smith. At least join the Patreon. Thank you. I'm really excited about that. And Mr. Clutch says he loves the live feed. It's very different than Tim's, which is Steve Leahy's. But artists do things that make their individual jobs easier. So there are so many tricks and tips you can apply. Yes, definitely. Definitely. And as you can see, it's so important to get the nature of the nose. Yes, it's not in the light, but it's translucent. Same thing with the lips. It's sort of a translucent dark, which is totally different than, let's say, what you would get, let's say, in the fingers or something like that. Bring this out like so. Hey Bob, how you doing? Mr. Squeeze, great to see you, my friend. How's everything, sir? How's life out in San Francisco? I hear you guys have great weather this time of year. Actually, I know you do because I used to visit in September. I once had a girlfriend in San Francisco. And that was great. The weather was amazing. Oh, Nayla says he's afraid to fall asleep. Every time I do, I wake into a nightmare. It's always time to get ready for work. I'm so sorry, my friend. And, oh wow, at the beach, how fantastic is that? Now, was that the beach in San Francisco that you went to, sir? And so down here you can see I put a little bit of a highlight there, but I can go ahead and shape that with the kneaded eraser. We're going to get that white pastel pencil. You can see the difference from different brands of pastels. It makes a big difference. So we have to, so you see the side plane where her, right here, a zygomatic arch, right here, or the cheekbone is coming down. That's going to get more light. So if we zoom out, you can see where I'm talking about this zygomatic arch. So our job is to definitely show this off. Oh, Ocean Beach, San Francisco. We used to surf. Oh, used to surf. Now, is that near the Presidio, my friend? I went to the supermarket that was down by the Presidio. Oh yes, did some sketching for future seascapes. Yeah, your wildlife pictures are just out of this world, my friend. What's great is that Squeeze is really embracing the underpainting, the airbrush underpainting, and the pastel on top, and he's really doing amazing. Just incredible stuff. Oh, it's out on the western edge, way out on Sloth past the zoo. Okay, cool. You know what I loved about San Francisco? I love the open-mindedness of the city as opposed to, you know, smaller cities. But I did love the fact that you could experience almost every kind of climate within a couple of miles from each other, which is so funny. Something we don't have in the Northeast. Ah, thank you. I appreciate that. Now you can see I went a little overzealous here. Just in one area, I can just tap that just a little bit. Now, we love moving around, right? Move around, move around. That's something big that I like to do. And let's not forget about her hair, right? So here's something we've been waiting for. So I have my Fons and Porter for the real thin hairs. And I'm just going to, just like that, just start putting in some of the lighter areas here. So like I said, if you want to try these inks, anyone out there, whether it's here on the live stream or you know, you're seeing this recorded, go to inkflingers.com right over here. And you see you could purchase and get more information on the airbrush that I use and the technique, which is really great. And also the airbrush is a really inexpensive airbrush, but I guarantee it's going to give you custom micron type details. Now, at this stage, you know, the regular pastel is not really taken as well. So we're just going to work with Mr. Fons and Porter a little bit. And, you know, a lot of times with hair, less is more. Direction of the hair is real important. And then we can bring in her forehead into the hairline, which really helps with the realism and the character of Frida, right? Is that not what we're after? So Frida Kahlo for tonight only is selling for $150 if anybody's interested, because she will be done tonight. And not only would you get great art, but you'd be helping out the channel. You don't need to pay that electricity. I just paid electricity last month. I have to pay again this month. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this orbital ridge right over here. See that? See how this is getting more light? So let's go ahead and put that in. Beautiful. And let's see. Yes, the microclimates. I love that about San Francisco. Blue says sometimes she feels that black and white portraits sometimes come out better than the color version. You know, it really does, because there's something to be said. It's almost abstract, you know, no one sees in black and white, so it's a different way of looking at the world. And sometimes it captures something, right, Blue? That, you know, you didn't see normally, that you would normally see only in color. Right, it does. I really do like black and white. Plus, when you master black and white, color just falls right in line. Now I'm paraphrasing. Sean Augusta Dominic Angela said, it takes 25 years to learn how to draw, and I think he said 1 hour to learn how to paint. So isn't that interesting? That's a man who dedicated his whole life of 80 years to painting. So that's amazing. Squeeze, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. That really helps out the channel, and it means so much to me. It's greatly encouraging. So thank you so much for that, sir. It is amazing. So Brad and Bob today have been just, champions, and thank you so much. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I am so excited every time someone does that. It really is amazing. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you, thank you. And you know what? Last month, from all the super chat stickers and everything, I got $200 for the month. So it adds up. It really does. So thank you, everybody, for in the past giving the super chat stickers. It really does help me out. Pays a bill, and that is amazing. Brad says he has to bail early. Been sitting in one spot too long. She's looking awesome. Take care, Brad. Always a pleasure, my friend. And thank you once again for the super chat sticker. It's really fantastic. Thank you. And let's see here. And you see all these different things that I'm seeing later in the game is really making a difference in the overall feeling of her. It really does. I like the idea of feeling the light as it is kissing her skin. I really love that part, Blue, have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you. And, once again, thank you always for your support. Thank you, Blue. Right over here, you see I have too much shadow, and that's something I didn't notice until now. So now I can just kind of rub that out, get rid of that overall shadow here. Just kind of soften that up, and it softens her smile, definitely. Right over here on the hairline, we're getting a little bit more light, so let's go ahead. So we're light detectives, right? We're just trying to figure out, what's happening with that light. How is light reacting to her form, right? To her forehead, how round it is, to her eyes. So you might have some detractors saying, well, Tim, this is not pastel. This is not airbrush. Why are you saying that when you're doing all this pastel? Well, I say this. Where were you the past, 12 hours that I was working in airbrush alone? So basically, don't let that bother you, And so that's so important to, always know the context. Yes, right now we're putting in a lot of pastel, but you know what? We're doing 12 hours of airbrushing to set up 1 hour or an hour and a half of pastel. Again, you want to see the shapes in the shapes, right? That's so important. Not just the shapes, but the shapes in the shapes. What's happening, right? What's some of the shapes as the nose, interacts with the cheek up here. I mean, God's world is so beautiful and complex. We'll never get it, but we can get some clues. We can get some epiphanies here and there, right? And we could say, wow, I caught that. All these little areas. Now I can always come back and pull out my gray paper or even the underpainting. See how I can pull that out? And right here, I'm actually pulling out the orbicularis oculi right over here. A little bit of a shadow here. And a lot of times you can just erase out the underpainting, which is really, really cool. So in the airbrush world, they talk about reductive detail. Well, this is along those lines. So we're not erasing anything, we're just lifting. Oh, she's really coming out very soft, and I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Let's see. Here, there's some translucency here. That's going to help shape her nose. Little tiny things that are so crucial in getting the character of her features. Little tiny things. Tiny little things. But a bunch of tiny things makes big thing. And let's see. Oh, look at that. So Clutch says he got his chicken pot pie and he's glued to the end of this feed. Oh, cool. Don't forget to give this feed a thumbs up. Thank you, Patrick. And the longer you work on this, the more he falls in love with her. Even then, big bushy eyebrows can't detract from her beauty. So true. It's she was a great beauty, and just and men just fell in love, and women fell in love with her, for that matter, if the history annals are correct. So she was quite the enchantress, to say the least. And Squeeze says the arc of her eye, nose, lip highlights runs the viewer's eye around the portrait. Thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. And so true. So pot pie, I love pot pies. Those are great. It's like having a turkey dinner in a little tiny package. You ever make a mistake, tap, 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 and it goes away. Sometimes not as easy as just now. And again, you could take this, make it into a wedge, and you can pull back some of those eyebrow hairs. And get the direction of the eyebrow hairs. Crucial. A little bit more strength here in this light. Right here. Now this muscle that you're seeing right over here, there's two muscles on each side of the forehead, and they kind of come together right at the end of the eyebrows in the middle. And let's see if I could locate exactly what that's called. I think, something I have to review. Let's see. Let's come over here. Pictures, anatomy. So here are the muscles. Where did you go? Okay, so we'll put her over here. So as you can see here, these are the frontalis muscles, and you can see right here, you can see that there is some indication of where the frontalis is. So that's important. And so when you do see that, you have to make sure that you at least indicate that you know they're there. Wow, so Patrick says he makes an amazing pot pie. That's incredible. That's amazing. Yes, the frontalis muscles, very true. So I think Bob is definitely a student of anatomy. Am I right, sir? Because you know your stuff. And one of the things that, I've been learning more and more, like the corrugated supercilious muscle right over here, those have been enlightening, to say the least. It's so much easier to look for something that you know is there than to just eyeball it. Oh, so so Squee says he loves anatomy. Very cool, Bob. And Patrick says, do you think that your intense study of human anatomy is similar to Da Vinci needed to dissect for art? I get it now that I'm painting, but I think you diving into it has made that inevitable to not. Yeah, I think, I think the deeper you get involved, the deeper you want to go. And when you're working on something like anatomy, you want to, especially with the portrait, the portrait is probably the most revered art forms in Western tradition. And so the more you know about it, the more profound, and the more your work's going to stand out from other work, because you're not just throwing darts at a board, you're actually really understanding what's happening. So not only are you just eyeballing it, but you're expecting it. You're saying, okay, where is this shape? Where's that shape? I know it's here. I have to find it. And it really makes a big difference in me and my journey as an artist. I'm going to put in some of these negative shapes here. I'm going to do that with the Fons and Porter, just like so. Those negative shapes are so important. Okay, so let's start with some airbrushing. So what I want to do is I'm going to come in with a second airbrush, because I always like doing a 2 airbrush system, right? The reason for the 2 airbrush system is that I want to be using the light mixture and the detail mixture, but I want to make sure is when I need to use a detail mixture, I'm not overcompensating by using the light mixture just to cut corners. Everyone's a corner cutter eventually, and I just want to cut out my ability to cut corners. So let me get my other airbrush, which is this beauty, if I find it. Here it is. It's my Extreme Patriot Arrow, my Extreme Patriot 105. I love this airbrush. It's the same as the Extreme Patriot Arrow, but it has the large cup and a great complement to the Extreme Patriot 105. Has the same detail and everything. It just is a wonderful airbrush. And I haven't used this one in a while, so just make sure that everything is calibrated correctly. There we go. Gotta have that little dial just adjusted back a little bit so relieve the tension on the needle spring. We're going to put this back in. I'm going to put some of my light mixture in here. And light mixture, where are you? If I was light mixture, where would I be? Right here. So here's my light mixture. And let's see what I missed. Oh yes, I'll definitely link that to you. Definitely, Mr. Clutch Pyro. That's for sure. And nameless subscriber says, speaking of Da Vinci, just picked up a book of Da Vinci's notes and studies of light and color. Wow, that's a great value. He is such an amazing mind. I did a term paper for art history at Long Island University on Da Vinci. He was like a geologist and an anatomist, I think it's called. I mean, the man was just amazing. His mind never stopped going in all different directions. The deeper you go into, and this is really amazing, the deeper you go into realistic painting, the more you fall into the science and physics, and it's really weird. So here we are, we have my light mixture. And what I want to do is I want to start coming in with some darker accents. Just like so. We're gonna just bring in some power into some of these forms here. So we're going to increase our contrast. A lot like if you take your photograph and you go into post-production and you just adjust the contrast and the darks and the lights. And you see now we're really getting down to the business end of the portrait. It's like, how do you bring a portrait together, right? How do you bring it home? And that's what today's live stream is, how to bring it home. So where you see a light, you're going to have a corresponding dark. See that? And let's pull this over here. Nope, leave that there. Pull this down. So now we're just saying, okay, detail mixture, great way you took off, now we're really going to bring it all together, you know? Definitely ahead of his time. Well, the thing was, you know, he was, you know, in the house of the Medici, right? So the artists had free reign just to create and do whatever they wanted, and that to me is amazing. So they were able to, you know, like Michelangelo, but he was tied up in jobs with the Pope, and that was different. He was a little more ambitious, I think, as far as, you know, politically and having power in his time period. Michelangelo was a little more ambitious. So I think Da Vinci just wanted to explore. back this dark over here. Just intensify things. Right on the inside of the ear. Remember that it was much darker. When you have a cast shadow, it's always darker closest to the object that's casting the shadow. And now give some life to that. And Nameless says, shame how people ahead of their time aren't given more attention and praise than they while they are alive. If they were taken more seriously, we might be further ahead in society. So true. And I really feel that that occurs because they're not worried about following the pack. They're going their own direction. And remember, people are afraid of new things. And the powers that be is not going to be too nice to someone rocking the boat, you know? I don't know if ever you worked in a corporation, but they don't want an individual, much like I was talking to Patrick about the military. They want someone who's going to follow the orders to a T without a conscience. And that's exactly what corporations are like, in the art world for that matter. A lot of times, you know, I'm doing things that are totally different and haven't been done before. And yeah, I mean, I get a lot of flack from it. A lot. I think it would have been easier for me as far as my career as a whole if I was to just follow, you know, the crowd. Yes, Avi, so it's at 25 psi, and I adjusted with the pack valve. So I'm usually a lot lower than 25, but I'm never higher than 25. So that's the highest I go. And True Artist Chronicle and Move Society at the same time. Very true, yes, definitely. You know, and I think that the true artists are the ones that the other artists quietly follow. And it's okay quietly as long as, you know, everyone is growing. And let's see. Nameless says, Clutch says facts, but those people who make our world, those are people who make our world better. It holds today still that don't make waves, do not find something unheard of. True, you gotta make waves. And Bob says true artist, so I read that part. And Nameless says they want another cog in the machine, very true. Just keep your head down, right, exactly. That is exactly it. You know, I remember when I was working at Amazon, someone said, no one wants your opinion, Tim, no one cares. Well, right now I can say to that person, I have 4,000 people who do want to hear my opinion. But in that environment, he was right. He could have discounted everything I had to say as being garbage because of, you know, the way that world. That's a different world than the art world. Not a nice world. The corporate world, it's a lot of duplicity and all of that. But I have to say, it's so true. Clutch says that, and he said the same thing when he egged it, when he egged his house as a teenager. Unless this is done correctly, his statement won't be heard. Yeah, so true. And you can see as I'm coming in with these darker colors, darker inks, things are really starting to ramp up, which is really nice. Now there's this beautiful cast shadow over here and it's nice and dark. But remember, I really just want to accentuate it close to the object that's casting the shadow. So you see how if you're close to the object that's casting the shadow and you put your darkest darks there, you're going to have a nice a nice sense of light, which is great. Okay. Over here it's nice and soft. I'm going to bring this up. Now what I want to do is I want to come back in with that medium mixture and even go more powerful, you know? And that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to see even some more lights that we can do here in her neck to really give more strength and anatomy to this area. Okay, so I think I can come here with some darks here in her necklace area. Some strength. Let's go in there together. Let's see. Whoop. There we go. Okay. And you can see this light mixture really has a lot more power. Now when you're doing the 1 second rule, you want to make sure that you don't have your airbrush on while you're doing that, because then you're airbrushing and not looking. So look for 3 seconds and then paint for 3 seconds. Look for 3 seconds, then paint for 3 seconds. But don't do the 1 second rule without, when holding the airbrush down. That would be tragic. So we're over here, and we have this right here. And then we can come back in with this white pastel here, and we'll just tap this. There we go, that looks nice. Now, see, I'm a little crooked there, no worries, that's what this pastel, with the eraser, we can shape that ever so nicely. And it's coming with the fuzz and border here. There we go, much better. And we could, really go to town here and really work out these metal ball bearings here. See how you could really get that kind of chrome feel to this. Translucency here. Oh, let's see what I missed here. Sweet says clutch. Oh, off the phone. Glad to have you back, Todd. Patrick loves the necklace, but he's blown away by the earrings. That's cool. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you can get like, you can really go into this, right? And really get, like, this looks like an onyx necklace, definitely. And you see, you can use so many different tools here. Make it more intense where the light is. And of course, you can come in with the pastel. And nothing is great without the highlight. Wow, Mr. Patrick, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. That means the world to me. Thank you, sir. 3 super chats today. That is really, I'm just totally excited about that. Thank you so much, everybody. Patrick, as you know, it means a lot to the channel. It helps me to pay some bills and to, really double down on these live streams for everyone. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. You are all just so amazing. Just the support I get, with the Patreon, buying my inks, buying the airbrush, and all that just keeps this going, keeps this ball rolling. I depend on you guys and girls to keep this going. So I'm not going to continue working on the necklace, but you can see how coming in with that light mixture, how we could even make that even more powerful, right? Make it even more powerful. Now, it depends, as far as you want to go, as far as going darker and going deep, you really can. Now, it's always up to you. Like, if that's an important aspect of the painting, you can decide to go further or not further. Keep the wheel turning. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Patrick. I really enjoy our classes together. One of the things about my students, it's like hanging out with friends. And I really feel that way. I look forward to my classes like people look forward to like hanging out with close friends. We paint, talk about everything, and to me that's like the spice of the classes. And Patrick, you're no exception to that rule. Really enjoy our conversations. And thank you. Squeeze says that these streams are spiritual transfusions. Thank you, sir. That means so much to me. And I started these live streams when I first did my first live stream. I think it was around 2016. And I just felt there was something special about it, of, being able to meet people from all over the world who are like-minded. And so I get to meet people like, Mr. Bob, and it's just so amazing. Patrick and Colette, everybody here, you guys are my friends, and in a lonely world, it's really great to have these live streams, and I don't take it lightly at all. Oh, the chicken foot voodoo necklace. That's so funny. You guys are great. And let's go ahead and do these linear lines. Linear lines, that's redundant, right? Just these linear designs here. There we go. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to empty out my medium mixture, my light mixture. I'm going to come with the medium mixture, and we're going to do some real intense dark. So let's make that happen. And so let me dump out the remaining. Now this is an interesting point, and I think you'll like this. When you're cleaning out your airbrush and you're working, if you're going from a lighter mix to a darker mix, you just have to pretty much spray out, because when you put the darker mix, it's going to overpower the lighter mix if there's still any residuals. However, if you're going from a dark mix to a lighter, you really have to clean it out, because just a little bit of a darker mixture is going to overpower and change the lighter mixture. So now I'm going from light mixture to dark. I don't have to do anything but just spray out what's in there. So now I'm going to go to medium mixture, and if I was medium mixture, where would I be? Here I am. Okay, and now we're just going to come over here, and we're not going to do much, so I'm just going to put 4 drops in there, not much. Remember, you want to be at least 2 feet away from your drawing when you're putting in new ink, and you want to be lower than your painting, because you don't want gravity. If for some reason it flies, you don't want gravity to have it drop on your painting. So if you're lower than your painting, that's not going to happen. So you always want to lower your risk of destroying your painting in this later stage. Definitely. Nameless says, has anyone here ever tried chicken feet? Wow, not yet. And wow, I heard they're tasty though. And Mr. Patrick says, Tim, your mentorship program has been a key point in his art discovery. Thank you, sir. And without me, I would have been no art. Thank you. At least airbrush art. I'm intimidated by it, but now I'm doing it. Yeah, the sky's the limit. There is no, Patrick, there is no ceiling to what you can accomplish with your art. And I mean that, and I am like 100% honest with that. That's something I would never lie about. I mean, today we were working on real complex anatomical forms in the face, and you were nailing it. You were really hitting the ground running. Yeah, definitely. You have to see we're working on a painting of Mike Patton together. Really amazing. Lead singer from Faith No More, which is great. Okay, so now I have this medium mixture here, and I'm going to test it out because I don't want to make my first sprays on my painting if it's doing something weird. Okay, so we have medium mixture in here, and now let's intensify these darks even more. We want her eyes to be the center of attention, so that's why we're going to make sure that this is going to be where the highest contrast is. Over here, I'm just going to make this a little more powerful. There we go. And here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So now this really dark is really going to help us to have some dark accents right there in the nostrils. Just bring that strength to this painting. And wow, techniques for chicken, that is fantastic. Oh man, that's very cool. Now let's look at her earring to see if there are any dark accents in her earring. There aren't really, so kind of a false alarm. But what we can do is we can get rid of the pencil lines that were there from the very beginning. So this is, remember, you're doing 2 things. You're creating contrast and everything, and you're also cleaning things up. So if we were to zoom in on her earring here, you'll see exactly what I mean. And see this right there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Now it feels a lot more. Same thing here. Let's get rid of some of these pencil lines. You're going to have some pencil lines. John Augusto Domenicandro said you just want to see the painting. You don't want to see the artist's hand. And I believe that. You know, I mean, I think you just want to see the painting. You don't really want to see all of the technique that's involved, unless you're a fellow artist, and that's different. But there's not many of us artists in the world. So I'm just going to kind of put in some little tiny details in this earring. Think Vermeer, girl with a pearl earring. What would it be without detail? Really a lot of fun. Got these cute little hairs coming out here. Look at that. Little cute hairs in the nape of her neck. I want to get the direction of those hairs. See that? Just a little bit right there. Oh, cool. So, just wondering what the food comparable to. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, us Americans, we're kind of picky that a lot of other countries, they eat a lot of foods that we turn away from, but that's not a good thing. A lot of people are hungry out there, so, you know, we should eat everything that we can. Not turn our nose up to it, right? So this little area here. Before the end of the night, we're at 11:20. I could continue going in with the serious darks, but let's go ahead and create some volume in her neck there. It's kind of nondescript in a sense, so we can definitely come in with the white pastel, make things interesting. Okay, so we're going to start with the pastel pencil and the stump. But you can see at this stage the importance of working the airbrush and the pastel. A lot of volume in her neck. A lot of things going on here. The way the skin and the texture of the skin of her neck and the little tiny folds are reacting to the light, or the light reacting to her form. And right here, where you have a dark, you're going to have a corresponding light, and vice versa. And you can see right here, this is facing the light a little more strongly, so it's going to be a little bit more intense here. Right here, we do have a little bit of, remember when things are going in, there's always another area that's going out, right? So you can see that this part of her neck is actually contracting, and that means another area of her neck is relaxing or bulging out. Now we come in with a white pastel. Really investigate this, right? Let's investigate it. The more we know about Frida, the more our painting is going to say something. Our art is going to say more the more that we have something to say. I remember one time I was sketching on the light rail in Jersey City, New Jersey when I was working at Amazon years back. And when I was doing that, it was somebody came up and I was, almost finished with the portrait, and the person came up to me and they said, you see all that information in that photograph? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, they were like, well, how do you do it? And I was like, well, I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I'm clearly not a kid anymore, right? So they were like, wow. So yeah, the longer you do something, the more you see. And Clutch said, Mr. Bob says, lots of great chicken feet in Chinatown. Oh yeah, big Chinatown in San Francisco. Wow, look at all that. Oh, nails off. So there's a nails off, nails on debate going on. And Patrick says he eats them right out of the fridge, but if you got a grill going, they are to die for. And wow, look at that, a whole food group that I really haven't even explored yet. That is cool. So you can see there's a lot more than I was even bargaining for in her neck here. That's why you never want to neglect an area in your painting. Always ask yourself, what am I neglecting today? So this has been a fun live stream. We only have 5 minutes left. This was the hot and sticky live stream, I would say. It's been that way since July. Every live stream has been hot and sticky. Every time there's a little bit of light, no matter how faint, there's a little bit of a dark right next to it, no matter how faint. So much going on, so much. There's like worlds that we're not seeing, but when we paint a lot and it just starts to, different things start to come to pass that you see. It's really weird. And I'm gonna take this aggressive eraser and I'm gonna chill out some of these darks that I made with the airbrush. Definitely have to soften this edge. It's really hard. So I'm just going to soften it right on that edge with little circular motions. See that? Nice and soft. Beautiful. So you know what it means that I have 2 airbrushes going tonight? That means I have to clean 2 airbrushes before I go to bed. Guys and girls, never leave your airbrush uncleaned. Never leave your airbrush dirty before you go to bed. It's one of the easiest things to increase the life of your airbrush and just make you a better airbrush artist, because working with a clean airbrush is like working with 100 times better airbrush. And a custom micron, which is a very expensive airbrush, if it's dirty and it has paint in there or ink, it's just going to work like a $10 airbrush. So always make sure you clean that airbrush up before you go to bed. Believe me, I don't want to brush my teeth. I just want to go right to bed when I'm really tired and motivated to go to sleep. But we have to, right? It's really important. It's one of the important skills. And let's see what I missed. Grilling works well. Wow, that's so cool. Really good food choices. Oh, so Zavi's favorite Frida painting is the suicide of Dorothy Hale. That is a very, in the green dress, right? That's an amazing, she jumped off of the Empire State Building and she did that painting. It's wild, isn't it? Really is. So I do see that Zavi is a real fan of Frida Kahlo, so it's good to see a fellow fan there of Frida. So you see there was more in her neck than I was giving attention to. And Patrick says, what in the F would anyone jump off the Empire State Building? Yes, that's when, yeah, that was very tragic. And there's a very, it's just very sad. I know they have guardrails now, so to keep people from doing that. So sad. I know how life can get, and it can get very tough. But that's so sad they didn't, they didn't realize how great they were, and there's always hope, always. I want to pull out the lights next to the necklace here. It'll do two things. It'll bring out that necklace a little bit more and just have a nice translucency of the skin and separate the skin from that necklace, her skin from that necklace. Different textures, right? That's one of the things that great painters do, is they look for textures. Photographers, you'll see, they look for having different textures in clothing, what props the models are using. So that's really important. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Patrick says says that the necklace is eye-catching. That means a lot to me, sir. Thank you. And we can see. So let's speed this up because we're getting to the end. I'm just going to come in right here and I'm going to apply some pastel here in a more liberal way, and then I'm just going to push this in here. Just because we only have... Oh, it's over! Guys, it's 11:30. Thank you from the bottom of my heart hanging out with me. There, Todd, everybody. You guys are amazing. Avocado Cheeto time, yes. So I just want to thank Patrick, and I want to thank Patrick, and I want to thank Bob Squeeze. I appreciate that, and I want to thank Mr. Brad, and for the wonderful super chats. I really appreciate that, guys. It means the world to me. It means the world to me, everybody. Zavi. Colette, everyone, John Payne, Todd, just for hanging out, John Diekman, and Patty, and you guys are all fantastic. Like I always say, Blue and everybody, this is like hanging out with a bunch of friends. It is a bunch of friends. That's how I feel. So John, Steve Lang, all the way from the UK. Thank you, Raoul, and Mr. Rick and everybody. You all are great. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I will see you Saturday for the pastel live stream. It's going to be great. I think I'm going to do another underpainting, which is going to be a lot of fun. Nameless, thanks for hanging out, my friend. You guys are all fantastic. God bless. And I will see you Saturday at 8 o'clock.